Miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are.
Alright guys, hello, and welcome to Table Talk with Tasha and Phil. During the month of April, we are celebrating our 10th year anniversary, 10 years of marriage, Phil.
Yeah.
It's like that, it's like that, it's like family. It's like that, it's like that, it's like family. It's like that, it's like that, it's like family.
Faith family, faith family.
It's like that, it's like that, it's like family. It's like that, it's like that, it's like family. It's like that, yeah, it's like family.
For the next couple of weeks, we actually celebrate our anniversary on April the
26.
26th.
You
You
trying to
got
test
it.
me?
Hey, you know it's a
You
test.
trying to test me? I know.
But so we are
Great.
going to pick just a few topics to talk about, to kind of talk a little bit about marriage and family and how we have journeyed through this beautiful time. 10 years and 5 kids later. So, Phil, you want to tell them a little bit about the topic that we're going to start off with?
So I think, like, starting off, we're just going to, I guess, dive into what really makes our marriage work, and how we have gotten to 10 years with, and still enjoying it, enjoying every moment, every minute of it, and truly, meaning that, and just want to share that with others. I think that's what we have been about from the beginning. You gonna press the button?
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were just so. Yeah, and I think it really ultimately just sharing how we have gotten just to this point. No, we're not at 20 or 30 years, but I think at every milestone, you should have something to share, with others. And this is just something that's always been on our heart to open up our lives in regards to marriage. And so we're going to just talk about on the topic today of sacrifice, and how we have gotten to this point is due to us truly individually sacrificing for each other within our marriage. Privy to like plenty of marital counseling, and not just counseling sessions, but workshops and different things, even when we were dating. And although sessions and things like that don't mean much if you don't apply it, but our hearts were open to really grow in marriage, grow as individuals, and then collectively come together. So we like to call it that we were just privy, and we tell people that a lot of times most people weren't exposed to or didn't get that going into marriage, the ability to get a lot of information. One thing that most people don't have is a model couple to follow after in their marriage. I think if most people took a survey, they might not say they might not even have not one couple to emulate within their life, within their lives. So, so there is no. A lot of times we might not have anyone that we can lean on. So, like I said, thankful for us that we were able to get this information, and then we actually dove into it and applied it into our lives. So once we were engaged, once we got actually married, we made a decision. Well, actually, prior to us getting married, I remember Tasha telling me that she ultimately wanted to be. She's like, I want to be a stay-at-home wife, and I laughed. I'm like, man, this is
Stay-at-home mom, not stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
I mean, wife. I did not want to just stay at home just for the purpose of staying at home. We had the conversation of when we start having children, and it was my heart's desire to stay at home at least the first couple of years of our potential children's lives. Okay?
Yep, and so going on 10 years, we are still in that in that stage of raising our children, and she's just been great at home. But I laughed when that topic came up. But ultimately, through really examining it, through seeking God, that's turned out to be the best decision for our family, for our marriage, for raising our children. It has actually been a true blessing. But with that comes some decisions that have to be made, and that is willing to put away self for the betterment of the marriage, for the kids, and that's truly by sacrificing. I think both of us, individually can have our grand desires for what we want to do in life and how we want to go about it. But ultimately, what really makes sense, for the marriage, for the kids, and for the family. Somebody is hungry.
I kind of looked at it two ways.
Trying to sacrifice.
From the sacrificial perspective, with Philip and I think. Okay, so let me remind you, we've been married. It'll be 10 years on the 26th of April, and I've been a stay-at-home mom for a little over 9 years.
Yeah.
A little over 9 years now, or very close to 9 years now. I make mention of that because it could have went one or two ways. It could have either damaged the relationship in our marriage, or it could have enhanced our marriage in the relationship. The reason I say it could have damaged the relationship is because Philip and I were married 9 months before finding out we were pregnant with our first child. And at that point, it was like, okay, well, we've made this conscious decision together for me to stay at home. And following that, 3 months after having our first daughter, we found out we were pregnant again with our second daughter.
A lot goes on around here.
Right, not a lot of TV watching.
No, we don't do that TV stuff.
But nevertheless, so anybody in a relationship, anybody in a marriage, oh gosh.
Like to touch each other.
You saw I just have a hand in his leg. But nevertheless, anyone who has had children or are engaged in a marriage now where you have small children, you know that it takes a lot. It takes a toll on you as an individual. It can take a toll on the marriage within itself, and then to add in finances, because now I'm at home. Phil is the sole financial provider for the household. And we went from 0 to 10. I mean, we jumped into the fire like completely and totally, right? Married 9 months, and then not even, I think I was 5 months pregnant when I stopped working, 5 or 6 months pregnant.
Yeah.
With our first, when I stopped working. So he has just literally been, I don't want to say in the fire, but actively engaged in working in his role, if you will, according to biblical principle, since we've gotten married. And as you all know, the stress and the strain that can come from financial things or just life happening within itself, it could have damaged the relationship. However, Phil and I have taken this time to really evaluate some biblical principles as it relates to marriage, and we've taken the opportunity and we've made the conscious choice or decision to allow me being at home to be embraced and to be positively impactful in our relationship. So a lot of sacrifices went into play with regards to Phil, with regards to myself, and we can rattle off, just a bunch of different sacrifices from a career perspective, from me, from my particular perspective, from Phil. Just name one thing that you've sacrificed.
Finances. Well, I would say, finances. Because make the money, I could, have the
Yeah, you
thought
see that
process
check coming in.
to be like, well, I'm going to spend it
Yeah.
on me. So I would say financially, that would be one area of sacrificing. Yeah, because that's really it.
But we both have made the decision to make that sacrifice. At any given time, I could have made the choice to walk into my career. At any given choice, I could have, after having, let me hold this for a second. Even after having, was it Little Phillip or Peyton? When I was, no, before having Peyton, when I was pregnant with Peyton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so when I was pregnant with Peyton, who is now 15 months, I had decided to try to get my feet wet a little bit and step into my career. And I worked for 30 days, exactly 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the strain that it was on my family. I saw the strain that it was on me. And it's not necessarily just working within the field. It's just everything in the house, was just, it had become overwhelmingly just a tedious process. And as I stated, I saw just things kind of dwindling in our time spent together and my availability for the kids and just all of this other stuff. And I knew that the sacrifice for me trying to do what it was that I personally wanted to do, it just wasn't the right time. And sacrifice does not mean completely and utterly stopping from my interpretation of sacrifice. Stopping what it is that you want to do within life. However, understanding the phase of life in which you're in.
Yeah, and then some things I think, as far as like how we make this work, the sacrifice, I would say, comes from just ridding myself of what it is that pleases ultimately me. And when I do that, I still get fulfilled
I was
by my
about to
wife
say, are you not pleased?
and my children, but it's also putting them first in regards to that. And then I also still, like for example, most people might say, well, I think this though, like when you get older though, it's like most of us and all of us end up doing pretty much the same thing. We're trying to make lives for ourselves, careers for ourselves, and those type of things. So I look at it as no matter how many kids you have, everybody's still doing the same thing. We just so happen to thank God we have 5, but for the same person who has 2, you're still doing the same thing. It's still the same juggle. We're just juggling with more responsibility. But it's like what's really in my head, is it all about me? And once that is gone from the perspective, then now you're able to fully give yourself to your wife, your children, my career. And although I love my job, but it doesn't come, before my family. And yes, I have to go to work, but what I mean by that is that it is not right, or is it healthy for me to push so hard career-wise that I lose my family? Because now I've put finances and my own perspective, my own goals ahead of, the betterment of them. Should I work hard and make a honest living? Yeah, sure. I should do what I have to do, and if opportunities come to advance, then, I will take them. But in the event of actually just diving so hard to where my work hours or my drive for work is so hard and heavy that I lose them, that would be a selfish thought. Or another selfish thought I had. It's just something that's actually healthy, but it all can also be selfish. Just the fact that if I work, long hours, and then I also decide to go to the gym afterwards, I get home at like 7 o'clock, 7:30. Well, then the kids are going to bed. So now I look good, I feel healthy, but the family has to suffer due to the fact that I'm trying to do something, even if it's something that's good, but it turns out to be a negative. So looking at certain things like that, it's just some things I've always been mindful of in regards to what is better for the family. Ultimately, I still get to, one thing I've always at least wanted to do is go to the gym. It's just we just schedule it better to be able to go. And that's really what, through our sacrifices, allow us to be, great teammates at this.
We are great teammates.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great point. Just, I think, bringing up the whole teammate aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I can't feel like I'm working in this thing alone. He can't feel as though he's doing it all alone himself. But to realize that we are on a team together, and there's a common goal.
Yeah, I think that's really was how this really moves. It's just like I'll take care of this, you take care of that, but ultimately we're both just coming together in the middle, and it's just flowing. But it's also we're communicating, we're really looking at things in its fullness, and thriving from it. But through our sacrifice, I know most people say, "Well, you've been doing this, you have 5 kids. What are you missing, or are you losing out on anything?" It's like, actually, no. We actually do the same thing that other families do. We take vacations here and there. We always have fun, so we're always intentionally doing things as a family.
Perfect word. That comes up in all of our talks.
Yeah, I think
the intentional part.
Yes, and we're just really willing to lay down selfish thoughts.
Right. Right.
What-
Put self to the side.
Yeah.
And actually think about the betterment of each other and the betterment of the family. I think that's kind of like it in a nutshell. That whole sacrifice piece, it does not come, sacrifice and selfishness or selfish nature, they just can't coexist, I don't believe. I believe that the sacrifice comes when you set aside yourself and your own selfish motives to think about the other person and to think about the family as a whole. And I think that's just kind of what we've done over the stretch of this 10-year marker. And it's changed. I think the sacrifices have changed.
Just thank God for where we are, and the sacrifice and that whole piece really just comes from Him, for what God has done for us by giving His life and His rights for us as sinners, that He truly sacrificed and died on the cross for us, and there's no other greater love than that. So what that means for me is that one thing is that there's life in that, because He didn't stay there, that He lives, that our lives can be transformed. So that selfish nature that we come into life with, that we come into marriage with, that through Him it can be changed. And that's really ultimately our foundation, is that when we came into marriage, thankfully that we were both open spiritually to want to be transformed and to merge together. And it's been great. I would like to challenge, I always challenge myself and want to challenge others, especially other men, is to, just examine yourself as far as what are some things that you may be holding on to that could be hindering, your marriage. What are some selfish thoughts you may have? Is it finances? Is it sex? Is it, your future goals? Those things. What is it? I would want to just challenge you and to examine yourself. Not only the men, but just all couples. Take the time to just sit down and say, like, where are we?
Absolutely.
With each other, with sacrificing, with, as a team. Is it really a team, or is it really, one person shooting the ball all the time and I stand in the corner and wait for you to pass it?
Very good.
Yeah, so I'm out.
Thank you guys so very much for taking out the time to watch this video. We hope that you guys will be on the lookout for the next few videos that we will have focused on marriage and family. And we will chat with you guys in the next video. Please hit the like button and subscribe, and tell everybody that you know about this family-focused, this faith-based, family-focused, and community-focused channel. All right, guys, chat with you in the next video. Peace.
Snipe that, snipe that, snipe gas, like gas, like family. It's like gas.